You down front and then
Pete Huggins from Dance City Newcastle. Just a brief observation. From the point of view of identifying best practice and good teachers, etc., I've always found it's useful to actually look at the pupils and see how they're responding and how they're developing, and I'm wondering to what extent that will be taken into account when it comes to assessment procedures.
I think that's a really good point, and I think, again, we'd really welcome your comments on the extent to which you think that would be valuable. As I say, we're not selling a model at this point, so we haven't thought through those things. What we're trying to identify is what you'd like in it. So if anybody thinks it would be really helpful to have that kind of view from the participants, that'd be fine. The only other side of that, the flip side of all of that, is the more complex we make it, the higher the standard of rigour that we build in, the more expensive it's going to be to create and to maintain. So it's a little bit of, if it's worth 50p, let us know. If you think it's worth £500, that would also, some sort of extent to which how useful would also be useful.
Yeah, I just wanted to maybe pose a question around the having this regulatory framework, and I'm wondering how much some of what we've discussed is actually about having a regulatory framework for dance teachers, not dance teaching. Some of the things you were talking about, like having CRB, understanding of health and safety and that kind of thing, is good practice and pretty applicable across any practitioner work, and maybe not even just in dance, but in community contexts. And I think that it's pretty easy to agree that as benchmarks, there's a checklist of things that you could say people have, including this almost like a kite mark or something, because they've signed up to certain things. And I think that's fairly straightforward. I think when you start getting into a discussion of defining what's high quality teaching, it's more difficult, because I think you can have a checklist that actually you could say, well, if someone does all these things, they're a good teacher. That doesn't mean, as Pete said, that the learning is going to be equally good. And I also think that it would be very easy to almost have this checklist that would be very applicable, I can see, to a lot of Western dance forms and kind of creative dance practice as we know it, but might isolate some forms that come from other cultures that actually, I've been in an experience where I've had a teacher teaching a non-Western dance form, and in terms of an Ofsted inspection, they were told that their teaching was not good, and actually it was good in terms of the style and the form that they were working in, but it wasn't considered good by an external person judging that lesson. So I think there's, for me, a little bit of a concern around, maybe trying to regulate teaching and deciding what's high quality teaching. It's quite complex, so I think, I just wanted to maybe say that regulating a teacher is one thing, regulating the teaching is maybe different.
I'm afraid, can you, a couple of people are coming now. You're going to go into breakout groups right after tea to actually continue talking about this whole area. So if there's any burning points, could you score those and make sure that you raise them in that post-tea session in smaller groups. Now these are, oops, I'm in the way. These are 3 questions which are going to be the basic agenda for the breakout sessions after tea. Do you think a regulatory framework for dance teaching, or teachers, is a good idea? Would it be useful to you, and if so, how? And what do you want to see included in the framework? So all those are portmanteau questions which you can take in many different ways. But if you could try and organise your conversations after tea around those, that would be really helpful.
Somebody in there